I left my husband for my college ex, and even my daughter started calling him her fairy tale dad, but then my husband vanished quietly. And what followed left us both speechless. Austin and I were married for 16 years. Built what I thought was my dream life. I had my veterinary practice, beautiful house, cars, our daughter Mia who's 14. But somewhere around year 10, I got restless. Austin was always working, always traveling for his aerospace engineering contracts. When he was home, he was quiet. Steady. Predictable. I convinced myself that meant boring. Then Devin messaged me on Instagram 2 years ago. He was everything Austin wasn't: spontaneous, passionate, still had that artist soul from college. He was a freelance architect, worked from coffee shops, talked about dreams and possibilities instead of spreadsheets and contracts. Within 6 months, we were having an affair. I was careful at first, but eventually, I stopped giving SHT. I wanted Austin to find out. I wanted a fight, drama, something to prove he still cared. Instead, when I finally told him I was leaving him for someone else, he just nodded. Didn't raise his voice. Didn't ask who. Just said, "I understand. I'll have my lawyer send the paperwork." That was it. 16 years, and all I got was "I understand." I thought I'd broken him. I actually laughed about it with Devin, how Austin just rolled over, how he must have known he couldn't compete. When Austin moved out within a week, leaving me the house, the cars, even keeping the joint accounts open, I thought it was because he was devastated. Defeated. Mia seemed to adjust quickly. Devin was fun. He'd take her for impromptu road trips, taught her to sketch, stayed up late watching movies with her. She started calling him her fairy tale dad because he was like the fun parent in movies while Austin had always been the disciplinarian. Every time she said it, I felt validated. See? Even our daughter knew I'd made the right choice. The divorce went through in record time. Austin gave me everything I asked for in the initial settlement. The house, which I thought was ours, the cars, which I thought were mine, maintaining my access to our joint accounts for transitional support. He didn't even ask for formal custody arrangements for Mia, just said he trusted me to do what was best. My lawyer actually pulled me aside and said, "This is unusual. He's being too generous. Maybe we should look closer at." But I cut her off. I didn't want to look a gift horse in the mouth. I thought his guilt over being an absent husband was making him generous. I thought I'd won everything. Christ, I was stupid. Update 1, 2 months later. Something's wrong. Actually, everything's wrong, and I'm starting to realize I've been played. Remember how I said Austin left me the house? Well, I just got a notice from a law firm. Turns out the house was never ours. It belonged to a trust, the Reeves Family Trust, established by Austin's grandmother who passed 5 years ago. Austin was the sole beneficiary and trustee. The house was separate property, never community property. The notice informed me that as of the divorce finalization, I'm no longer a resident beneficiary. I have 60 days to vacate. I called my lawyer in a panic. She pulled the divorce papers and showed me where I'd signed away any claim to separate property. It was right there in black and white. I'd been so focused on the win of him not fighting me that I didn't read carefully. But here's the kicker, she did some digging and found out Austin had transferred the deed from his personal name to the trust exactly 13 months ago. Right around when Devin and I started getting serious. He knew. He knew and was already protecting his assets. When I told Devin we had to find a new place, he lost it. Not at Austin, at me. "You said you got the house in the divorce. You said you took him for everything. I gave up my lease for this." He was pacing around, running his hands through his hair, and I saw something I'd never seen before, calculation in his eyes. He was adding up numbers, figuring out what I was actually worth versus what he thought I was worth. The cars were next. Got a call from BMW and Tesla on the same day. Both leases were under Austin's company, Reeves Aerospace Consulting LLC. Since I was no longer a company officer, when had I ever been? The vehicles needed to be returned within 72 hours. Devin's been distant since then. He spends more time at client meetings that run until 2 a.m. Mia asked me yesterday why he seems angry all the time now. I'm starting to feel like I'm standing on quicksand. Update 2, 4 months later. I've lost everything. No, that's not right. I threw everything away, and Austin just made sure I couldn't throw away what wasn't mine to lose. The veterinary practice, my baby, my pride and joy? Turns out Austin owns 65% of it. He invested his entire inheritance from his grandmother when I started it 8 years ago. I only own 35%. The operating agreement, which I definitely signed but apparently never read properly, states that the majority owner can freeze distributions if the minority owner acts in a manner detrimental to the business's interests. My affair qualifies. He had documentation, times I left early for personal appointments, credit card charges at hotels during work hours, even emails I sent from my work computer. All dated, all documented. I can still work there, he's not that cruel. But I can't access any profits beyond my base salary without his signature. That salary barely covers rent on the apartment Devin and I had to scramble to find. Oh, Devin. My passionate, artistic Devin. Turns out passion doesn't pay bills. His architecture practice is basically him doing freelance sketches for other firms. He hasn't had a real project in 2 years. He was living off credit cards and his elderly mother's help when we reconnected. Last week, he came home drunk and said the quiet part out loud. You were supposed to be my meal ticket. Successful vet, big divorce settlement. Instead, you're just another broke woman with baggage. The next morning, he apologized. Said he didn't mean it. But we both know he did. My daughter? My sweet Mia who called him her fairy tale dad? She found the messages. Not the recent ones, the old ones. From when her father was overseas working on a contract for the Air Force, and I was sending NDS to Devin. They were still in my iPad's deleted folder, synced from my phone. The look on her face wasn't anger. It was disgust. Dad was working to pay for my school while you were. She couldn't even finish the sentence. She's been staying with her friend Brooke's family for 2 weeks now. Won't answer my calls. I saw Austin at the grocery store yesterday. First time in months. He was buying steaks and wine, the good stuff he never used to splurge on during our marriage. He looked different. Lighter. Younger somehow. Lost the dad gut, dressed in clothes that actually fit well. He nodded at me politely, like you would at an acquaintance. That's what KLD me. Not anger, not smugness. Just polite distance. How's Mia? He asked. She's staying with a friend right now. He frowned. She told me she was with you. I'll call her tonight. Of course she's been talking to him. Of course she lied to him to protect my feelings. Even now, after everything, she didn't want him to know how badly I'd failed. Update 3, 6 months later. Devin's gone. Came home from a particularly brutal 12-hour shift to find his stuff gone and a note on the counter. This isn't what I signed up for. Good luck. That's it. 2 years of passion, of you're my soulmate, of we were meant to be together, reduced to 8 words on a sticky note. The irony isn't lost on me. I blew up my marriage for a man who bailed the second things got tough. Austin weathered 16 years, built a life with me, supported my dreams, and I threw him away because he didn't write me poetry or surprise me with spontaneous trips to wine country. But the real knife to the gut came later that night when I was cleaning out the closet Devin used. Found a box he'd forgotten. Inside were printed emails between him and another woman, some surgeon he'd been pursuing. The dates started 3 weeks ago. He was using the same lines he'd used on me. My current situation is temporary. Once I get my big project funded. She doesn't understand my artistic nature. I was the she now. The obstacle. The boring partner he was stuck with. I laughed until I cried. Then just cried. Mia came by the next day. First time in a month. Not to move back in, just to get more of her things. She's officially living with Austin now. He got a new place closer to her school. A nice condo in one of those luxury buildings with a doorman and a gym. Mom, she said, not looking at me as she packed, I need you to know something. Dad knew about Devin from the beginning. My blood went cold. What? He told me last week. Said he hired a pie after you started acting different. Has photos, recordings, everything. He could have destroyed you in court but didn't want to do that to me. He just wanted out clean. I sank onto her bed. Why didn't he fight? She finally looked at me, and the disappointment in her eyes was worse than anger. He said fighting would mean dragging you through mud, and you're still my mother. He said the best revenge was letting you have exactly what you thought you wanted. She left with 2 suitcases and a box of books. The house felt like a tomb after. I found out through LinkedIn that Austin's been busy. His aerospace consulting firm just landed a contract with the Department of Defense worth $40 million. He'd been setting it up for 2 years. All those boring business trips I complained about were him building relationships, getting security clearances, positioning himself for this exact opportunity. He'd also been taking care of himself. A colleague mentioned he'd been doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu at 5 a.m. every morning for the past year. Investment conferences on weekends. I thought he was just being antisocial. He was rebuilding himself while I was destroying us. Update 4, 8 months later. I've seen rock bottom, and it has a view of my ex-husband's new life. I'm working at someone else's veterinary practice now. Austin bought out my 35% of our old clinic for fair market value, enough to pay off the credit card debt I'd racked up living with Devin, but not enough to start over. Dr. Patel, who owns this clinic, is kind, but I'm just an employee now. No equity, no ownership, just another vet taking orders. Today was Mia's school science fair. She won first place for a project on aerospace propulsion that Austin helped her with. I stood in the back of the auditorium watching them celebrate, Austin in a perfectly tailored suit that probably cost more than my monthly rent, and a woman on his arm I recognized from the news. She's a legislative director for the Senate Armed Services Committee. 31 years old, Georgetown law degree, speaks 3 languages. She wasn't hanging on him or trying to mark territory. She was engaged with Mia, asking about her project, making her laugh. They looked like a family. The family I threw away. Austin saw me as they were leaving. Walked over while his girlfriend and Mia went to get the car. Natasha. Austin. We stood there for a moment. Up close, I could see he'd not just lost weight but added muscle. He looked like he did in college, but with the confidence that comes from experience and success. Mia misses you, he said finally. She won't return my calls. Give her time. She's processing a lot. Teenage years are hard enough without. He trailed off. Without finding out your mother is a cheating woe who destroyed your family? I finished bitterly. His expression didn't change. Without having her worldview shattered. She idolized you. That's a hard fall. Did you know? I had to ask. When I asked for the divorce, did you know everything? He was quiet for a long moment. I knew about Devin 3 weeks after that first coffee. I knew about the hotels, the lunches, the times you said you were at book club but were at his apartment. I knew about the money you were siphoning from our joint account to help him with his rent. My knees went weak. Why didn't you say anything? What would be the point? You'd already decided I wasn't enough. Fighting would just mean months of ugly court battles that would hurt Mia. So I prepared. Protected what was mine, documented what I needed to, and waited for you to make your choice. You let me hang myself. He shook his head. I let you be who you are. The hanging was all you. His girlfriend pulled up in a car I didn't recognize, one of those new electric Porsches. Mia was in the back, laughing at something on her phone. Austin, I said as he turned to leave. For what it's worth, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. He looked back at me. For just a second, I saw something flicker in his eyes. Not love, not hate. Maybe pity. I know, he said. Take care of yourself, Natasha. Then he got in the car and drove away with his new perfect life while I stood in an empty parking lot, holding the ashes of the one I burned down. Final update, 1 year later. This will be my last update. I need to close this chapter, and Reddit has been my only outlet for the shame and regret that's been eating me alive. It's been a year since I left Austin for Devin. A year since I thought I'd won everything. Instead, I'm sitting in a 1-bedroom apartment, eating takeout Chinese alone on a Friday night, writing to strangers on the internet because I've alienated everyone in my real life. The full scope of Austin's strategic retreat still takes my breath away. My therapist, yes, I'm in therapy now, twice a week, trying to figure out how I became someone capable of such cruelty and delusion, says Austin executed what's called a tactical withdrawal. It's a military term. You retreat not out of weakness but to choose better ground for the real battle. Except there was no battle. That's what haunts me. He never fought because he never needed to. While I was sneaking around, feeling clever and desired, he was restructuring every asset to protect it from community property claims. Building a business that would explode in value after our divorce. Getting himself into the best shape of his life. Documenting my affair with the precision of a military operation. Letting me destroy my own credibility and relationships. He played the long game while I was playing checkers. Last month, I had to ask him for a favor. God, it killed me to make that call. Mia needed braces, and my insurance wouldn't cover them fully. I couldn't afford the difference. He didn't hesitate. Send me the orthodontist's information. I'll handle it. No lecture, no I told you so, no making me grovel. Just handled it like he handled everything, efficiently, without drama. Austin, I said before he hung up. Why are you still helping me? I'm not helping you. I'm helping my daughter. The fact that it benefits you is incidental. That stung more than anger would have. Mia and I are slowly rebuilding. She comes for dinner once a week now. We don't talk about Devon or the affair. We talk about her school, her friends, her plans for college. She wants to study aerospace engineering like her dad. The pride in her voice when she talks about him is a knife that twists every time. She told me something last week that explained everything. When Austin was 12, his parents went through an ugly divorce. His mom had cheated with his dad's business partner. The court battle was vicious, public, humiliating. It destroyed his father financially and emotionally. Austin swore he'd never let that happen to him or his kids. So when I cheated, he didn't repeat his father's mistakes. He didn't fight in the mud. He didn't try to hold on to someone who didn't want him. He simply protected what mattered and walked away. He told me, Mia said, stirring her pasta, the best revenge is a life well lived, but sometimes the second best revenge is letting someone else learn their own lessons. The truth is, I'm not the victim in this story. I'm not even the villain. I'm just a cautionary tale about a woman who hid everything and torched it because she confused stability for stagnation, confused quiet strength for weakness, confused a man's lack of drama for lack of passion. Austin's getting married next summer. His fiancée is pregnant. They're having a boy. Mia's excited about being a big sister. She shows me ultrasound photos on her phone, talks about how they're converting Austin's home office into a nursery. The life I could have had plays out in front of me in real time through my daughter's stories. The successful husband, the growing family, the financial security, the respect. I had all of it. All of it. And I threw it away for a man who wrote pretty words and made me feel 22 again. My therapist asks me what I've learned. Here's the list I've made. A quiet man isn't a weak man. Sometimes the most dangerous men are the ones who don't need to raise their voice. Someone who truly loves you doesn't need to constantly perform that love. Austin loved me in 1,000 quiet ways I only recognized after they were gone. The grass isn't greener on the other side. It's greener where you water it. When someone shows you who they are, believe them. Devon showed me he was a dreamer without a plan. Austin showed me he was a planner who made dreams reality. You can't build happiness on the destruction of others. My happiness with Devon was built on betraying Austin. That foundation was always going to crumble. I'm not writing this for sympathy. I don't deserve it. I'm writing this because maybe someone else out there is thinking about leaving their boring partner for an exciting affair. Maybe someone else is mistaking steadiness for stupidity, silence for weakness, strategy for surrender. Don't be me. Don't confuse a man who won't fight with a man who can't fight. Don't mistake tactical withdrawal for defeat. Because sometimes, by the time you realize you've won the battle, you've already lost the war. And sometimes, the person you thought you defeated was never fighting you at all. They were just clearing the battlefield for their real victory. I thought I'd broken Austin when he didn't fight the divorce. The truth is, he'd already won before I even knew we were playing. Edit, to those asking, yes, I tried to get Devon back after he left. I'm not proud of it. He's living with the surgeon now. She drives a Maserati. Edit 2, for those saying Austin must have been cold or neglectful for me to cheat, no. He was present, faithful, supportive. He just wasn't exciting. I created a narrative in my head to justify what I wanted to do anyway. That's on me. Edit 3, yes, I realize I'm the architect of my own destruction. That's the point of sharing this. Own your choices, people. Because they will own you. Final edit, Austin, if you ever read this, I know you won't, you were never one for social media, but if you do, you deserved better. Mia deserved better. HL, even I deserved better for myself. Thank you for having the strength to let me fail and the grace to not destroy me when you could have. Your son is lucky to have you as a father. I'm sorry I couldn't see the man you were until I lost the right to call you mine. Thank you so much for watching until the end. If you really like our videos, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Have a great day.